Imagine you held the keys to a digital wallet with $100 billion inside. You could buy anything in the world. You could buy private jets, tropical islands, luxury cars, and giant castles. But instead of spending a single penny, you walk away. You never touch a single dollar. You disappear into thin air, leaving no face, no real name, and no address behind. Would you do that? Would the world call you a genius or a fraud? Today, we dive deep into the greatest modern mystery of our time, the story of Satoshi Nakamoto, the creator of Bitcoin. Welcome back to StoryLingo. Subscribe to the channel to see more interesting stories. Listen carefully until the very end, because the secret Satoshi left behind might change how you see money and freedom forever. It was the year 2008. The world was falling into deep financial crisis. Giant banks were crashing down. Millions of hard-working people lost their jobs, their family homes, and their life savings. People were angry, confused, and afraid. They had trusted the big banks with their hard-earned money, but the banks had failed them. In the middle of this dark winter, a mysterious shadow appeared on the internet. A person, or perhaps a small group of people, using the name Satoshi Nakamoto was watching from afar. Satoshi saw the pain of ordinary families. Satoshi believed the traditional financial system was broken and unfair. And Satoshi made a bold decision to fix it forever. In late 2008, cold winds blew through the streets of New York and London. Outside giant bank buildings, men and women in expensive suits carried small cardboard boxes. They had just been fired. Inside modest family apartments, mothers looked at empty bank accounts and cried quietly in the dark. Far away from Wall Street, Satoshi Nakamoto sat in front of a glowing computer screen. The room was dark and quiet. The only sound was the fast, steady clicking of a keyboard. Satoshi typed line after line of complex code. The traditional financial system requires total trust, Satoshi wrote in a private message. But history is full of broken trust. Banks lend out money they do not have, creating bubbles and debt. Satoshi wanted to create a completely new kind of money. Money that no single bank could control. Money that no government could print out of thin air. Money that belonged only to the people who earned it. On October 31st, 2008, Satoshi sent a short email to a private mailing list of computer experts and cryptographers. The email contained a 9-page document called a white paper. The title was simple: Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. Most computer experts ignored the email. They laughed and shook their heads. Digital money without a central bank? One expert said to his colleague, "That is impossible. People will cheat. It will never work." But Satoshi did not give up. Satoshi kept working in silence. On January 3rd, 2009, Satoshi Nakamoto pressed a key on the keyboard. The Bitcoin network opened its eyes for the very first time. Satoshi created the first block of Bitcoin, known in history as the Genesis block. Inside this initial block, Satoshi hid a secret message that would stay there forever. It was a newspaper headline from that exact day. The Times, 03/01/2009. Chancellor on brink of second bailout for banks. It was a sharp warning to the financial world. It was a silent protest against corrupt banking systems. At first, Bitcoin was just raw code on a few computer monitors. It had no price. You could not buy a hot cup of coffee with it. You could not buy a fresh loaf of bread. Satoshi needed help to test this ambitious idea. But who would trust a ghost? Enter Hal Finney. Hal was a brilliant programmer living in California. He loved privacy, math, and code. When Hal downloaded and read Satoshi's white paper, his eyes went wide. His heart beat faster in his chest. "This is revolutionary," Hal whispered to himself in his quiet study. "This could change human history." On January 12, 2009, Satoshi sent 10 bitcoins to Hal Finney. It was the very first Bitcoin transaction in human history. Hal looked at his screen. Within seconds, the 10 bitcoins arrived safely. No bank stood between them. No middleman took a fee. Hal smiled, typed a quick message to Satoshi, and sent it. It works. By the spring of 2010, Bitcoin was growing slowly. A small, dedicated group of computer programmers joined Satoshi online. They spent long nights fixing code bugs, answering technical questions, and debating the future. Yet, Bitcoin still faced one major problem. Nobody knew what a single Bitcoin was actually worth in real life. On May 18, 2010, a developer named Laszlo Hanyecz made a famous post on an online Bitcoin forum. Laszlo was hungry. "I will pay 10,000 bitcoins for a couple of pizzas," Laszlo wrote on the forum. "Maybe 2 large ones, so I have some left over for the next day." For 4 long days, nobody answered his request. Forum members made jokes about the post. Why would anyone trade real hot food for useless internet numbers, they asked. Finally, on May 22nd, a 19-year-old student agreed to the offer. He ordered 2 large pizzas from Papa John's using his own credit card and had them delivered directly to Laszlo's house. In return, Laszlo sent him 10,000 bitcoins. Laszlo opened the warm cardboard boxes. The delicious smell of melted cheese and pepperoni filled his home. His young children ran to the table, smiling, and grabbed a big slice. Laszlo took a bite and laughed happily. For the first time in human history, lines of digital code had bought real, physical goods. Bitcoin was no longer just an abstract science experiment. It was real money. Today, those 2 pizzas are worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Every year on May 22nd, the world celebrates Bitcoin Pizza Day. As Bitcoin gained popularity, Satoshi worked tirelessly, day and night. Satoshi answered thousands of emails, updated the code, and guided the growing community. But Satoshi was always extremely careful about privacy. Satoshi never turned on a webcam. Satoshi never spoke on a phone call. Satoshi used encrypted networks and private servers to hide his IP address, location, and time zone. Nobody knew if Satoshi was a single man, a brilliant woman, or a secret group of developers. Nobody knew if Satoshi was young or old, living in America, Japan, or Europe. Some people in the community started to feel nervous. Who was this invisible leader? Was Satoshi a true genius wanting to free humanity, or a clever fraud setting a giant trap? In late 2010, dark storm clouds began to gather over Bitcoin. A hidden website called Silk Road appeared on the dark web. It used Bitcoin as its primary currency for illegal trade. Criminals began buying drugs and illegal goods using Satoshi's invention because transactions were fast and private. At the same time, major global news stations began broadcasting stories about Bitcoin. Central banks and political leaders started paying close attention. Governments were getting worried. Satoshi saw the news headlines and felt deep worry. Bitcoin was meant to bring economic freedom and peace, Satoshi wrote in a private message to a developer. It was not meant for crime. The pressure on Satoshi was becoming overwhelming. The world was desperately searching for the creator. The bright spotlight was turning on. In December 2010, Satoshi Nakamoto posted a final public message on the official Bitcoin forum. It was a simple technical note about a software update. After clicking send, Satoshi fell completely silent on the public forum. Private emails were still sent to a few trusted developers, including Gavin Andresen. Gavin was a talented programmer who was taking over the project leadership. In April 2011, Gavin sent Satoshi an urgent email. "The media is asking bigger questions every day," Gavin wrote. "They want to know who really created Bitcoin. What should I tell them?" On April 23, 2011, Satoshi sent a short, calm, and final reply. "I've moved on to other things," Satoshi wrote. "Bitcoin is in good hands with Gavin and everyone." And with those final words, Satoshi Nakamoto logged off forever. Satoshi deleted the private email accounts. Satoshi closed the forum profiles. Satoshi never posted another word online. The creator of Bitcoin vanished completely into thin air, like a quiet ghost disappearing into the morning fog. When Satoshi vanished, the world went crazy trying to find the missing creator. Reporters, private investigators, and computer experts became obsessed with one question: who was Satoshi Nakamoto? In 2014, a major magazine called Newsweek claimed they had finally found the secret genius. They pointed their fingers at a quiet Japanese-American engineer living in Southern California. His real birth name was Dorian Satoshi Nakamoto. Dozens of aggressive news reporters rushed to his small house. TV camera crews blocked his driveway. News helicopters hovered over his roof, making loud noises. Dorian looked deeply confused and terrified. "I know nothing about Bitcoin," Dorian shouted to the flashing cameras, his hands shaking. "I am just a retired engineer. Please, leave me alone." It was a massive mistake. Dorian was not the creator of Bitcoin. The media had ruthlessly hunted an innocent man. Later, an Australian businessman named Craig Wright claimed that he was the real Satoshi. He appeared on major TV networks, shouting, "I am the creator of Bitcoin." But when global experts demanded mathematical proof, asking him to move a single coin from Satoshi's early wallets, Craig failed completely. The global community exposed him as a fraud. Others believed Satoshi might be Hal Finney, the man who received the first transaction. Tragically, Hal passed away in 2014 from a rare nerve disease. On his deathbed, Hal gently denied being Satoshi. To this day, not a single person has ever proven they are Satoshi Nakamoto. Now, my friends, here is the most shocking and incredible part of this entire story. When Satoshi created and tested Bitcoin in 2009, Satoshi mined the first 1 million Bitcoins to keep the network stable and secure. Those 1 million Bitcoins still sit quietly in Satoshi's original digital wallets today. They have never been moved. They have never been sold. They have never been spent on anything. Today, those untouched Bitcoins are worth more than $100 billion. Think about that immense fortune for a moment. Satoshi Nakamoto is officially one of the richest human beings on planet Earth. Satoshi has enough wealth to buy luxury super yachts, private jets, tropical islands, and massive global corporations. Yet for over 15 years, those wallets have stayed completely motionless. Not a single digital penny has ever moved. If Satoshi were a fraud, wouldn't a fraud take the money and live like a king? If Satoshi were greedy, wouldn't a greedy person spend that massive fortune? By walking away and leaving $100 billion sitting untouched on the internet, Satoshi proved something truly profound. Bitcoin was never about personal wealth. It was about an idea. Today, Bitcoin is used by hundreds of millions of people all over the globe. People buy, sell, and save their money using Bitcoin. Entire nations, like El Salvador, have adopted Bitcoin as official legal currency. Giant global corporations hold Bitcoin on their financial balance sheets. Satoshi Nakamoto built a powerful financial system that does not require a king, a president, or a central office. By disappearing, Satoshi gave Bitcoin its greatest strength: true decentralization. If Satoshi had stayed, governments would have arrested Satoshi. Governments would have pressured Satoshi to change the rules. People would have depended on Satoshi's daily instructions. By becoming invisible, Satoshi allowed Bitcoin to belong to everyone and to no one at the same time. Satoshi showed humanity that real power does not come from famous names, vast riches, or authority over others. Real power comes from creating something genuinely helpful for the world and having the rare courage to step back and let it grow on its own. So, was Satoshi Nakamoto a genius or a fraud? A fraud deceives others to gain money and power for himself. A true genius creates something that transforms human society and asks for nothing in return. Satoshi sat alone in a quiet room during a time of painful global financial disaster. Satoshi saw ordinary people suffering and decided to build a tool of economic freedom and truth. And when the monumental work was complete, Satoshi walked quietly into the darkness, leaving a gift worth billions to the human race. We may never see Satoshi's real face. We may never know Satoshi's real name. But in a world where almost everyone fights for attention, fame, and wealth, Satoshi Nakamoto showed us the ultimate power of humility, vision, and sacrifice. Thank you so much for listening today, my friends. Now, I have a special question for you. If you created something worth $100 billion, could you walk away like Satoshi did? Or would you keep the money and fame? Please tell me your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single comment. If you enjoyed learning English with this story, please hit the like button and subscribe to StoryLingo. Your simple subscription helps us create more peaceful, meaningful stories for your language learning journey. Check out another amazing story too. Keep listening, keep learning, and keep walking forward on your adventure. I will see you soon in our next story.